Hi, everybody. I am Cynthia Garrett, and welcome to Real Girls. You know the place. We are actually welcome to Girl Club. That's really funny because we are real girls having real talk about real issues and seeking to apply the only thing that matters to us, and that's real faith. You know the goal. Every week, we are trying to take a look at how to live our lives from dating to sex to marriage, celibacy, not necessarily in that order, and to raising kids and parenting. And we want to do it the way that scripture tells us how to do it. So we want to make it real for ourselves and we want to make our faith real for you. And that's what Grow Club is about. And the whole crew is with us this week. We are blessed to have an incredible group of women. Some of you know them. They share, they teach, and they encourage not just all of you listeners, but we encourage each other, you know? So we get as much as we hope to be giving right here every week on Grow Club. There are some of you who've been here from the beginning who know our stories, but I've realized that as our audience is growing week after week, we realize the importance of truly sharing our stories with you. And you know that as believers, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So that's what we are doing these next special episodes. We are testifying about the very real Jesus that we know and why we believe what we believe and say what we say and do what we do and live how we live, and why we're here trying to share it all with you in the hopes that you have a better life and a more authentic journey, and that you understand what it means to walk in true power. So joining us today, the entire crew is here. Actually, I love when the entire crew is here. All four of us are here. Christina BOUDREAU, a powerful evangelist, a successful plus size model, and a member of Ryan Reese's The Whosoever. Shout out to CB. Nova Page is in the house. You guys know Nova. She's a powerful singer, songwriter, a teacher, a pastor, and an evangelist. And last but not least, because she's going to actually be the one sharing testimony on this episode, is Christina Reynolds. Christina is an awesome singer, songwriter, teacher, and evangelist. And she's also a really good sister and friend. And man, there's so much more to each and every one of these women that it's just been important to me as I realize that all of you need to understand who they are and what they really come from. And that when you watch us every week, or that when you listen to us on podcast every week, you're not just assuming that like we're a bunch of perfect chicks who arrived here perfectly with a really perfect faith in Jesus, and we never do anything wrong and we don't judge anybody. No, that's not who we are. It's not who we are. And that's definitely not even the kind of chick I hang around with. I need people who keep it real in my life, and more now than any other time. I mean, is that like true, you guys? Like, come on. If we can't keep it real, what's the point? What's the point of living for a God that doesn't see us and know us as we really are and give us what we need to really change? So we're not from perfect homes and backgrounds. And we know that everybody has a story. And when that story is given to God, we learn that our story is really his story. So our history belongs to him. And if we give him our mess, he makes a message. So we want to start off by introducing you to Christina Reynolds and allowing her to share her message. But before that happens, each and every one of us needs to give Christina kind of a word about what we think and know about her. So CB, Christina BOUDREAU is shaking her head in studio. You want to start first, BOUDREAU?
I am eating ice cream sandwich.
Of course you are.
I know, yeah. We're good. You know, I think when I think of Christina Reynolds, I think of, I don't know, just the word that comes to mind is like multifaceted, like a diamond. Because
Mm.
when you hold her up, you know, when I think of her life, it's, you know, she's like this diamond and you hold it up to the light, which is, you know, who Christ is, and different parts of who she is reflects different parts of who the Father is. As a mother, you know, even I love watching her dance videos. She has an amazing personality and amazing stories. She can be funny, but she's really deep and very relational. And so I think that Christina is very multifaceted, because I think sometimes people could be one dimensional, but I think when I think of Christina, you're just someone that's like, okay, God, whatever you want to do with my life, here it is. Like, you can mold it and shape it kind of like, you know, as clay is in the hands of the potter, so are you in the hands of the Lord, as and you're just kind of like, God, here's the clay of my life. Whatever you want to mold me for today to be, I'll be for you. And I think that's really beautiful. And so I love watching your life and love watching what the Lord is doing through you. And so I would definitely say multifaceted.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Nova.
This is hard for me to narrow down because you are such a gift. So I would say when I think of you, I think graciously gifted, graciously kind. The way you live out with the gifts that God's given you, it's like this fragrance of grace just goes behind you and before you. So graciously you offer your gifts when you play, when you sing, so graciously. But you know that it's a gift. And your kindness comes out exactly the same way. So you to me are graciously surrendered.
So I've known Christina, like we were talking about when I shared, for like 8-9 years now. It's been a while. And my experience of her is, I'm going to say how I see it succinctly, but it's so all encompassing. I guess if I had to describe you, Christina, it would be beautiful warrior. And that is so it works like this. I've seen you go to war against God, against others. I mean, like righteous war. Like, I mean this true, like righteous war. You like go. I see you in the room when you go to God to battle something out on behalf of someone else or for yourself. Like, you get in there and you are so beautiful to him and so loved by him that you can go in there and go, okay, that's it. I'm upset. This is wrong. I've had enough, blah, blah, blah. And God's just like, I got you, beauty. Listen, let me tell you about how I'm going to work this out. And you go to war, you dive into an injustice and you pick it apart the same way that you dive into yourself and your own struggles and you pick it apart. And it's this beautiful journey of going to war against anything that threatens to keep you from being who you are supposed to be in Christ. And God uses you as a beautiful warrior in other people's lives. And I don't even know that you fully get it. And sometimes I make jokes about the fact that my son and his best friend Jordan, when they were in college, they would go, they started doubling up on their time in the prayer room. And I was like, wow, this is great. I mean, I love that they're being encountered in the prayer room. Let me tell you, for those of you who don't know, the prayer room is a place that grows out of the International House of Prayer in Kansas City, a church under Mike Bickle's leadership. And the prayer room is a beautiful room and space where there is 24/7 prayer that has been going on now for, I don't know how many years, Christina?
20 something years, no, 20, over 20 years now.
Okay, yeah. Right. All right. So day and night prayer and worship teams who are up for 2-hour sets constantly. So if you're anywhere near there, go sit in the prayer room and literally fall under the anointing of God, the presence, the worship, everything. So my son and his best buddy start doubling up on the prayer room. And one day they're in the car and they're kind of giggling. And Jordan's like, Mama, I'm like, what is going on in the prayer? Like, what's going on? Like, it sounds like it's just been like a great week. You guys are there like 5 days this week. And he goes, Mama, there's this worship leader there. She's so beautiful.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
like so powerful. And when she sings, like the anointing of God is just like breaking stuff off of me. And he goes, and she's so beautiful. And I was like,
oh
one extra so beautiful. And I was like, okay, Jordan, what's going on? Well, when I finally went to the prayer room and he said, it's Christina, her name's Christina Reynolds. So when I finally went and experienced Christina, it was watching her really being used as a warrior in the spirit through through the gift of prophetic, through song, and through the ministry that God was using her for. And it's so perfect, like Nova and Christina. It's like it doesn't surprise me that our words are kind of an extension of each other. There was this grace and elegance about her and this gentleness, but like this fire in her. And as I've gotten to know you, Christina, you have this fire, and we laugh sometimes because we have that similar, like, we're gonna burn this room down, like, this is wrong, I'm going through it, I'm now mad at you. And sometimes that fire can, it's like, this is a fleshly fire. We got to turn this one off. But for the most part, it's righteous fire, Christina. It's righteous fire. And it's so beautiful. Like, it's just beautiful to watch how you go to war, for the things you believe in and for the faith that you have, and to not fall back into even your own story or the chains of your past. And you have such a tremendous calling. And I guess if I could sum up beautiful warrior for you, I would just also encourage you to, like, stay the course, man, because you haven't even begun to step into the fullness of grace and favor and power that is on your life. And sometimes I know it may seem like, okay, really, Lord, like when? But to whom much is given, much is expected. And he's just making you into the girl that can be the to whom much is given, because much has been given to you. Not just in your singing and your songwriting, when you're on camera with your family. I'm telling you guys, you guys really need to watch Meet the Reynolds. You really need to meet her family, through Instagram and through the videos that they do. They're the best TV series out there online. I promise you.
You're
Trust.
so sweet.
It's true. It's true. You guys have something so beautiful. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to share your story transparently.
Thank you guys so much for, I get it now, Cynthia. It's like saying things that, like, I would hope, I would hope that I would, like, be walking in, but, like, I don't think of on a daily basis. So I've actually been praying about this moment, because I've been like, Lord, what part of my story do I share? Like, what do you need me to share in this, like, season that we're all in, and that the viewers are in, that you guys are in? And because, like, we all have such so many things that the Lord has taken us through. So I'm going to try to keep it brief and just see what the Lord highlights. But I was not always a worship leader. I was not always a lover of Jesus. I actually grew up in an immigrant family. My parents are from Taiwan, and I come from a long generation of actually pastors. So I grew up in Christianity, but never knew that I could have a real relationship with Jesus. I thought it was like, you cross your T's, dot your I's, you do what's right, and that's it. And then you serve God. And I was like, I'm good. I don't want any of that. I want to do my own thing. And similar to Cynthia about just that issue of identity, I kind of found myself identity hopping from, like, one group of friends to the next, to drug abuse, to alcohol abuse, to men, actually we'll call them boys at the time, to all these different things. And I found myself just, like, drowning in depression and suicide, and really just self-hatred, because I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And all this talk of Jesus and he loves you, and this just never hit me, because I never felt it. It wasn't what I was seeing in those around me. It wasn't what I was seeing at church. It wasn't what I was seeing in um in our family, in the way that I could receive. So I lived kind of a crazy lifestyle, and it got up to the point where I was um 18 years old, and my parents were ready to disown me, and they're like, "Oh Jesus, we're throwing up our last Hail Mary. We need to get this girl out of, the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and we need to get her somewhere where she can encounter God." Because I was so far off. I was waking up in different places, not knowing how I got there. I was basically never sober, because I was trying to numb myself from all the feelings of not feeling loved, not feeling beautiful, not feeling like I had a future, like I had
anything to live for. And then you add on that heartbreak with the many boys, and it was just a downward spiral. And finally, I found myself in Kansas City. I somehow said yes to coming out and visiting this place called the Prayer Room with my dad. And this is just a funny little part of my story. I was a little cokehead. Okay, so I did cocaine. And this is like 2006. I'm like going through airport security and had this little bag of cocaine stuck in my bra, like stuffed into my bra. Like that's how dumb I was. Somehow made it through airport security. And like this is kind of the state of my life. Just this lost little 18-year-old Chinese girl from California on a plane to Kansas City in the middle of nowhere. And I find myself in this room where I didn't know at the time, but it was worship going on this stage. And there were Bible verses popping up on the screens. And the Lord encountered me. I would run to the bathroom, do a couple lines, go back to this prayer room and sit there and write on this hotel pad of paper, like the things that were like all of the pain in my heart, I was writing out onto this piece of paper. Um, as I was basically pouring out my heart to the Lord, not knowing that it was the Lord at all, he was like responding to me and he was softening my heart. And mind you, like my heart was so hardened with rage, with anger, kind of like Cynthia said in the last week, of how my walls had walls. I had been hurt so much because of my own choices and then my own, brokenness from my home life and all of that. Where I had like basically numbed myself for so many years with drugs, alcohol, sex, relationships, all of that. I literally could not feel anymore. And that's what I was going for. And I started to feel in that moment of like being in this context of worship and prayer. I had no clue, but God was softening my heart. So fast forward through a bunch of divine events, I decided to pack up all my things and actually move to Kansas City to be a part of this prayer room of an internship. I actually had no idea what it was. I just knew that I had to get my life on track because if I didn't make a change, I was going to wake up dead, basically. And um, I signed up for this internship at this prayer room, and within 2 weeks, the Lord met me, and He radically encountered me um, with His love. After what, 18 years or 19 years? Oh, actually, I guess I got there on my 20th birthday. 20 years of hearing about how much God loved me, He finally showed me, and it wrecked me. All of that pain, all of that self-hatred, all of that, the drug addiction, my nicotine addiction, everything was gone in a moment. And it all came down to the fact that I felt this wave after wave of His love, and I felt like, okay, I have something to live for. Okay, um, I can feel and I want to feel. Like everything was completely turned upside down, and I decided to join staff, started worship leading, and I mean, I'm going kind of fast through this because I want to talk about kind of more of where I'm at now, because I think this first moment of my radical shift into relationship with Jesus was huge, right? Because He saved me out of death. He saved me literally out of death. Yeah, from my spirit, but like I really believe my physical body, I would have either committed suicide or I would have woken up dead somewhere in some ditch or something. Um, but then I found myself, what's interesting is I came out of a religious home, but completely unsaved, into a very religious atmosphere, now on fire for Jesus, completely in love with His love and wanting to feel that for the rest of my life. And I dedicated myself to, you know, growing in the prophetic, learning about His love, learning about the Bible, becoming His friend. And that took me on a 15-year journey of growing in Jesus and meeting my husband and getting married and having kids. But I just feel like I need to share that just because that beautiful moment of getting saved in the prayer in that first time, that first encounter with Jesus on the cross and His love and getting free, that didn't mean that there weren't a multitude of struggles along the way. I didn't even know about inner healing until I met Cynthia and Roger. And when I tell you that they're the most loving people in the world, they barely knew me. And the first night we invited them over to our house. And of course, her husband is like, let's get this girl, let's get this girl healed. She has some major issues. They were at our house from like 6 p.m. to like 3 a.m. in the morning, praying through all this brokenness with me, and that kind of started my journey of actually healing, healing through all the brokenness and the pain that others inflicted on me and that I inflicted on myself as well. And through the years of walking through healing, I found myself, fast forward to around 2016, the end of 2016, I found myself at a faith crisis. And I realized I have lived my whole Christian life now, living my life off of what someone told me from a pulpit. And I gave up, college. I gave up everything to be basically a missionary in this organization. And I was coming to this point where I was like, do I even believe the things that I've been living for now for the last, let's see, 2006, the last 12 years? I don't know. I found myself at this crisis because then I was seeing discrepancies in people's lives around me. I was under a really heavy yoke of religiosity, um, also living in poverty because of giving my life to a missionary lifestyle. And I was finding all of these contradictions in his word and what was happening in my life. And I was like, I don't think I want this anymore. And also, being around broken people, they break you. I'm broken. I'm going to break you. I'm going to hurt you. Being around hurt people will hurt. Being around hurt people will always hurt you. And why I walked through a serious 2-year process where I was like, I don't know if I can be a Christian anymore. I don't know if what I gave to the Lord was worthwhile. I don't know if the sacrifices that I made, that all the long hours that I've served, was even right. Was it a waste? And I came to this point in my faith where I was like, I have to make a decision whether I believe, whether I believe in Jesus or not. And this is 12 years after the fact of the radical encounter of Jesus's love, way back when I was a drug addict. And why am I saying all this? I guess I'm saying this because um I just want you to know that like this was only like 3 or 4 years ago, and that I am not perfect, and that a walk with Christ doesn't mean that it's all rainbows and flowers and you're just blessed all day, all night, and that you just live in abundance all the time. I really, really struggled, but it wasn't and what I realized was that I wasn't even angry at God. I was angry at his people. And I was like, I don't want to be a Christian anymore. I love you, Jesus, because you're awesome. God, you're good, but I don't want anything to do with your people because I went from being hurt by people who didn't love Lord to being hurt by people who did love the Lord. And I feel like I'm just rambling here, but we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I
You're
hope this
not.
makes sense. But I just want to tell this one quick little story because I know I'm running out of time. But then yet again, I found myself at this crossroads again, right? 12 years ago, I was at a crossroads. It was literally life or death, and he saved me, and he put me on the path to life. 12 years later, I found myself at these crossroads where I was like really researching different types of spirituality. I was like, maybe I need to go do an ayahuasca ceremony and reach God another way. Like, I mean, you guys, it was crazy. I was like
Yeah.
really searching out spirituality because I was so hurt by the church, basically. And basically, in around 2017, I got pregnant. Surprise, like complete accident. And it calmed me down. It made me have to really start evaluating. Okay, I'm not going to run in the other direction. I I don't want to like I'm cool. I don't want to do the tea ceremony. I don't want to do like um what DMT. I don't want to do any of that other stuff. I don't want to try anything else, but I'm really hurt and I'm broken. I have to face this. And as I was like in the thick of like morning sickness and throwing up and really had to slow down, the Lord began to like work on my heart again. Fast forward, we go to get our ultrasound. I'm 20 weeks. I'm going to get my ultrasound to find out. At this point, we're excited. We're like, oh gosh, are we going to have a girl or a boy? We drive over, and like my worst nightmare, we found out that my baby had died in my womb at 20 weeks. And it was horrible. It was like living in a freaking nightmare. Um, And a few weeks later, I ended up birthing her. Her name is Alexandra, and ended up birthing her in the hospital. And And then eternity hit me in my face. And I was like, and it was in those moments that he was the closest to us in our family. And during that time, you know what's crazy? And this is what actually got me on the path to life, is that during that time, like, so many people from our ministry, the people that I had bitterness, that I had anger towards, that I was like, you have overlooked me, you have used me, you could give two craps about me. They are the ones that showed up in our time of grief and loss. They came with meals. People came with meals, presents, gifts, text messages, cards. I mean, the whole nine every day. And they loved us so well. People I didn't even know, people that I just had an idea about, that I judged myself, that I was like, oh, they think they're too good. They think that they're holier than thou, and this and that. And these people that I had accused in my heart came and served me. They came and served my family. And I just felt like the Lord was just smiling upon me and going, Christina, you're wrong. Like, my church, my body, my family, yeah, they're broken, but they love you. And you're not an outsider. And I would have to say that's the second time that the Lord saved me from death and put me right back on that path to life. So I think I just want to share that with you guys, because I mean, God is so in it. He's so in it with you. He's not scared of your questions. He's not overwhelmed by the pain that you feel. He's not freaked out about the journey. And the journey is not always perfect. And it's okay to question. It's okay to doubt. Just keep running back to him, because every time he proves me wrong, every time that I have an accusation against him, even right now in the season I'm going through, it's like so difficult. Every time I even start to like accuse me, and like, God, like, are you just sadistic? Like, do you just enjoy seeing people go through suffering? Like, these are the things that go through my mind. Like, 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 do you really enjoy seeing people suffer? Because that's all I see. Like, these questions are okay. Go to him. Don't try to stuff it. Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to think that you have to just endure and cling to these biblical catchphrases and not show weakness. Like, it is completely okay. That is what real relationship is like. When you take issue with someone, I would hope to God that you would want to work it out and talk it out with him or her or whatever. And what the Lord is teaching me right now is that he isn't asking me to be perfect. He's not asking me to do X, Y, and Z. I have been in the most barren season of my life. I have had so many cool things I've done before that I could list out that made me feel good about myself. But he is in the process of going, I just want you to be my friend, and I want you to be okay with that. Know that you are completely 100% enough without any of that. You're 100% enough with the baggage, with the struggles, with the questions, with your faithlessness, with your doubt. You're 100% enough. And oh my God, where am I going with this?
Mhm.
I feel like I've been a hot mess.
Good.
But I guess, yeah,
Great.
that's the point, is that it's real. It's real. Like, I love when we encourage one another with the word, and we send each other like Bible verses, and that is good. Like, but I would never want anyone to feel like they have to hide behind that they can't just rip themselves open before the
Yeah.
Lord and before those that they know who love them, and know that that's the fight that we live in. And I
Yeah.
think that when we embrace that, that is where the true impact and the influence comes from. Like, we live in this Instagram age, and like, that's not true influence. Like, I think
Yeah.
getting real and being okay and being completely confident that the Lord is in it with us and loves us in that um is important. I don't know. I hope
Wow.
that made sense, guys. I was trying to fit
It made
30
it.
minutes.
No, you're fine on time. It made total sense, Christina. And I'm just you said something today, and you said it to me years ago, and when I was going through my own sort of existential crisis and in Kansas before we left, and I had been, there was so much, there's a lot of the prophetic, that comes out of the house of prayer. And So there were a lot of prophecies that I didn't see come to pass that I so want it to come to pass for my son. I don't care about me, but when you're a mom, it's like, okay, if it's your kid, you never want your kid to be disappointed in any way. But, and there were two things I learned from two women in that season. And I have to tell you, Christina, you were one of those women. The other was Tracy Bickle, who's the pastor's sister. And she said something to me about the prophetic. And she said, listen, when you hear a word, don't write God's narrative. You're always going to write God's narrative to fit what you want. So just don't write God's narrative. Just let it test itself out and play itself out. And then Christina, you said something to me that was so powerful because it really, it affirmed something I hope is true about my walk. And it also called something out of me that I aspire to always have my walk be rooted in. And you just said it today, God's not surprised or shocked at your questions or what you're going through. He's not. He knows. He sees. And that to me is such a powerful message that you give, Christina. God's not shocked. That and the fact that you guys, the first time Christina shared her testimony at our house, we invited her because we would do these testimony nights and we'd have worship leaders come and sing and share in between singing. And it was my version of Storytellers, which is a show that used to be famous on VH1 when I was there. So Christina started sharing. And when this big old testimony of all this stuff came out of this girl, I was sitting there and I felt like I was listening to myself, the drugs, the struggle, this, and because you look at her and you would never see the things that she's been through. And that's really the beauty of Christ in our lives. He will take you and make you look like you've never been through the things that you've been through. And that's you, Christina, your grace and your poetry and your elegance in motion. And so when your testimony comes out of you, it's like, what? So I want to just thank you, thank you for sharing and thank you for being here and being transparent every week. And unless you ladies have a closing thought, I'll take us home for the week. Yeah. Christina, you are a beautiful warrior, blessed with grace and elegance, and never stop sharing. Never stop, never stop, never stop being who you are. Never stop, because the world needs you. So, and we sure need you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Hit your subscribe button. Make sure you share these testimonies and these women with everyone in your life, because everyone in your life needs to be blessed with the real truth of our very real God who moves and works in very real lives and very real circumstances. I am Cynthia Garrett, and thank you for joining me, and not just my Girl Club regulars, man, but my co-hosts here. Thank you. We'll see you next time.